Three, two.
Hey, I'm Andre Ford, The Promise, and this is my testimony.
Man, I just want to let everybody in the beginning get to know you. And the first thing I always ask is, who is Jesus Christ to you?
Jesus is my rock, my savior, my everything, my best friend, my creator. He's king, he's Lord, he's my everything. He's my glue. He pulled me out of dark situations. He's talked to me in my pride. Uh, he's my everything. I don't go a day without talking to him. I don't go a day without learning more about him. I enjoy his presence. I'm at a point in my life where that's all I think about, really. It's Jesus.
And when would you say that happened for you?
Man, it's been a gradual increase in the intimacy of our relationship because and I write this in my songs, but I was a drug dealer and a drug addict for 10 years. I was addicted to meth. It got to a breaking point a couple of years ago. I had to go to rehab and came out. I had relapsed at least 2 times, and the last time I relapsed, I actually wrestled with God in my garage, and that's when I think the turning point took place. I was ready to actually unalive myself, so to speak. I had a bunch of product left, and my wife was tired of the mess. So I was in the garage. My brother had to come over and keep me under control. My younger brother. So in the garage, I kept asking God why I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I was asking what's the purpose of my life? I know I was doing music and stuff, but to me it wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't seeing no progress. Being impatient, mostly me. It was all about me, me, me. So when I look back on it now, I realize that it was very selfish of me. But before I did anything rash, I was drinking at the time and high. I just broke down and just asked every question I can possibly ask and prayed about it. Ended up passing out.
Mm.
Yeah, so none of my questions were answered right then. But I knew when I woke up, I said, this is it. I got to change. And that was the last time I used.
So, and that was just deep by itself right there. There's a lot of meaning in everything you just got through saying. Before we go dig all the way into that, tell me what even got you to that point? How was it for you growing up?
See, the thing is, I didn't have a hard life. We lived in the hood for a while. Me and my mom uh, was in Meadowbrook, if you can even call that the hood. But there's a lot of thieves there. That's what we're known for over there. And then, my dad went to college. He was in my life. Wasn't like he wasn't gone, but my mom had told him he needs to finish school while, me and her basically, but with my granny. So my life was relatively pretty good. Uh, we had money, probably upper lower class, but I never starved. But it was moving house to house. Uh, Growing up around a bunch of guys who were very violent and stuff kind of put me in that mindset that I needed to be that way too. Not to mention womanizing, talking crazy to women. Every teenage boy, I guess, go to some problems like that to some degree. But yeah, I kind of internalized it like most guys do. They let their environment change them instead of being the change. But over time, just thinking that was how it was supposed to be, cold. I saw the people around me cold, so I acted cold towards people. Didn't. I went to church, but it was just going to church through the motions. I didn't really. I wasn't. I believed there was a God, but I couldn't even say definitively like I can now that there's a God, that I believe in God, that I give my whole heart for Him. Um, I was a knucklehead in high school. I didn't even pass to walk. I had to go to summer school, and then I got my diploma my senior year. So I didn't even walk. And from there, I just felt like the world owed me everything and anything without working for it. And that type of mindset was prideful. And that pride is what caused me to fall into drugs because I was like, you know what, I just want to do them. So I tried drugs. I was straight edge for a long time, didn't believe them. I talked bad about people who was on drugs. That was part of that pride. I looked down on people, and God told me, He said, I'm going to teach you a lesson. So I met this girl who introduced me to drugs. It's not the one I'm married to. One previous relationship, she brought him into my life, and I took him wholeheartedly. She drove me crazy too. But that's a whole nother story. So that kind of drove me to that, self-medicating with, substances. And then in that, like most people end up start doing drugs, they start selling drugs. So it wasn't a necessity. I had a good job. The drugs end up, incapacitating me to the point where I'd stop going to work. And so just to have money and to pay for my habit, I sold drugs. It was mostly ecstasy and weed. But and this is where God was teaching me a lesson. Every person I interacted with, every plug I got in contact with, somehow would end up dead in jail or something bad happened to them to the point where they couldn't supply me no more. So I kept jumping from person to person, and then I got into a crew. I was naive. I felt like I could trust these people, not knowing that people have ulterior motives, and not everybody is for you like you are for them. They weren't giving me ecstasy; they were giving me capsules full of methamphetamines, and I was taking the stuff while selling it. So it hit me like this wasn't ecstasy, but I was like, okay, maybe it's a different type of branch off or something from it. But I ended up having to take a drug test for a job. It was a hair sample, and that finds everything in your system. So when they told me what was in my system, I was in disbelief because I was like, I've never taken meth before. And come to find out, I had one of my homeboys test one of the capsules, and it was methamphetamines. And
what was your reaction?
I was shocked because that's not a drug you want to get into. I've always made fun of people saying, hey, meth is what takes your soul. And that's true 100%. When you are on methamphetamines, you no longer are there. So it first started, that whole downfall was now that I know that I'm taking meth and I'm trying to take ecstasy had no more effect on me. No other drug would have an effect on me except for meth. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do meth. And so every once in a while I was doing it. I had it under control, so to speak. And slowly the people I was hanging out with ended up dying or from overdose or ended up in jail or back in rehab or some disappeared. I don't even know what happened to them, even to this day. And I was nobody in my family knew about it. My wife had some degree of she knew I was doing stuff, but she didn't know it was meth, and she didn't know the magnitude of how much I was doing. I kept that. I was pretty secretive. I wasn't one of those meth addicts that would go out walking the streets, flipping and all that stuff. And I didn't smoke it, so there was never ever a smell. I just would eat it. And over time, me losing weight and losing attention and just being a menace, it got to a point where I had to go to the hospital. I had to sit and think about it. And I started fighting back. That's when I think I started trying to follow the Lord. This was before the huge blow up. He was giving me it seemed like samples of scriptures and presence, his presence, like this is what you're missing. You need this. And at first it was working. I'm what you call a seasonal user. I only used when it first started, like October to March. And then I wouldn't use for the rest of the year. But whenever I was trying to quit, that's when it started tapering down. So October to September to November every year. And then I lost my granny in 2019. That spurred a huge, because she was the corner of our family. She kept us all together. She kept me and my mom relationship from being hostile because my mom didn't know how to talk to me. She knew how to talk to me, but we would butt heads because we were similar personalities and some things. So, but I started just binging after that, and I didn't care about nobody or nothing, and that's when it really got bad for me. Um, I got into a fight with my best friend, who we had never had an altercation in our entire friendship, which I've known him since the 2000s, 2003. We went to school together, and he didn't realize how bad of a problem it was, so he came over and was trying to get me to calm down, and it wasn't working, and then we ended up butting heads. I tell people it's kind of strange because I don't remember a lot of the interactions because I was so far gone.
Right.
But yeah, he's funny. The weird thing about that, my friend's an atheist, but God used him to pull me out of that situation, and I'm thankful for him. He still hasn't came on to the side, but we have civil conversations about it.
And it shows you God can use anybody.
God can use anybody, and He used my best friend, who doesn't believe in God at all, to get me into the hospital, and that's when I checked into rehab. But I didn't have a hard life that would say I need to turn to drugs, but pride. My pride was so bad. I didn't care about nobody. I thought I was the greatest thing that ever walked this earth, and I think that's what ended up pushing me to that direction. Like, I can just conquer anything. It doesn't matter. I'll do drugs if I want to.
So, man, that's the same thing I was told. Like I said, pride actually comes from the father or the grandfather, whoever. Like, where did that pride even come from? Because a lot of people don't even realize that pride can literally be a generational curse.
I do believe it may be a generational curse. My thing is that my dad was a well-known person in our community. Still is. His name is Roderick Ford. He went to UTA on a full-ride scholarship on state championships with Hughes at Dunbar. So watching him growing up, it filled me with pride because my dad, everywhere he went, somebody knew who he was. So I felt like, okay, my dad's somebody. I'm already somebody, so I can walk around here and act like I didn't understand that he was humble, and people were drawn to that. They were attracted to that. I just saw it as him being his big dog, so that's why people were drawn to him. It wasn't that. My dad just was comfortable in himself. He reads his Bible. He wakes up 5 a.m. and reads his Bible every morning. But, I didn't see that as hard work. I wasn't paying attention to that stuff.
Right.
Right. I look at all the results, the consequences of his actions versus seeing the actions that he were doing and applying those consequences to those.
Right.
And yeah, so I figured that out later on that, okay, my dad he strives to be a great person. That's why he is known the way he is. It's not just his skills or whatever.
In some of the story that you just got through telling, were there breadcrumbs leading up from the beginning, like before you started even accidentally doing the meth, or just that you felt like, because I heard you say little scriptures was coming to you, little breadcrumbs where Jesus was trying to step in, let you hear that voice, or trying to give you direction.
It came in the middle of a lot of my the highest points of me being high is when it was like, you're doing wrong. Why are you doing this? This is not making you happy. Why are you treating me this way? It would be stuff like that. I'm like, who is that talking to me? I'm like, I can't be God. And then the part of that was that I was looking, when I looked for God, I was looking in the wrong places. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to deal with trauma. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. I didn't understand empathy in the sense of this person's going through this because it's something they did, and they're going through this because they're being tested. That never occurred to me that sometimes you go through stuff because you need to be tested and shaped and chiseled. When I realized that struggle molds you, when God puts you through struggle, He's trying to mold you into something. So those are the things that I kept getting fed at certain points in my addiction. Whenever I would be, especially when I would come out of a season, when I'm now back to normal, then everything, those verses, those words that were spoken to me, His presence would tell me, okay, you've been hammered and heated, now you're cooling off. And I would tell myself I wasn't going to do it again, but I was trying to white knuckle it, and then when it got to the point where white knuckling wasn't working, and that's when I got into a fight with my best friend. He was like, okay, now it's time for you to be sat out. And so I bit the bullet and went to rehab and learned some new tools, and that helped me a lot. Just going through that, I didn't think rehab was going to have help, but it did. I even ended up helping people in there, and I'm still friends with a lot of those people, although some of them didn't make it.
Man, listen, sometimes that's your purpose too. And what you coming out of is big. I literally just had a ex-girlfriend pass like a week ago from she couldn't stay off of men.
Yeah.
And it caught up to her. And I think she was dealing with those same demons. But for you, I'm noticing like even when you're going to rehab, you're saying, man, I even started helping the people in there. I watch you on Facebook. One of the reasons I wanted to have you over because you stand firm on your beliefs. You don't post a bunch of crazy stuff. It's always about God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you stand front, you're firm on it. You have no embarrassment about it.
No, not
Where does that come from? Because a lot of people believe in things, but they don't want to hurt nobody else's feelings.
That right there, what you just said, that's what makes me stand on it. The pride aspect that caused me to fall was that I didn't have a foundation of belief of anything other than myself. I'm a fickle human being. I'm human. I make mistakes. There's no way I should be putting my faith in myself. I falter all the time. Jesus is the brick. He's the ground. He's the rock. When I stand on him, it pushed me in a direction. He made me feel more powerful. Giving him all the power made me more powerful. And that's probably the best way to put it. I started, Jesus revealed himself to me in a intellectual way. I always would try to go for the feeling thing, but I'm okay with prosperity preaching. I'm okay with pastors talking about whatever, there being prophets and all that stuff. But to me, I like the intellectual stuff. The historical reliability of the Bible.
That's me.
Yes. When I started researching context in the book, reading the book for myself, which I'm going through it again. Now, every day I go listen to the Bible or I'll read it or something, but I go through it every day. The closer I am in that book, the deeper I am in that book, the context, the information that comes with it pulls me closer to him. I like the evidence. The more evidence I gather about how reliable the New Testament, the Old Testament, Jesus' life, how he lived his life, it makes me stand firmer and firmer on his word, on his faith, on his presence. So I'm always incorporating him in every conversation. I'll say something along the lines of something about God, especially when I have a problem with compliments. So I say, I am nothing without God. And that's how I keep myself from getting too big-headed, because that's what caused me to fall in the first place.
What's something you read that from even the Old Testament or New Testament that just, oh my gosh, it just caught my attention. This is interesting, and this is like one of the things that are keeping me coming back.
The biggest thing was, there's several of them. I'm in Job right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to defer to that one. Job and his friends telling him he did wrong and all that stuff, and him never backing down on him not doing wrong. That right there stands out to me. But what stands out of that whole thing was when God basically swatted him down and said, hey, look, I can do what I want. I'm
right.
God. You're human. I created you. You need to just believe that what I do for you is good. I have something better for you. I live by this thing that I believe in some degree that God doesn't say no. And if he does say no, it's for your own protection. But usually it's yes, not right now, I have something better.
Yes.
And those three options right there speaks volumes to me. Whenever I want something, I try to get it, and I want to get it in the flesh, I think about those three terms, like God must have something better, or it's not right now. So I'm just being patient about all my blessings. And he comes through. His timing is perfect. He has not let me down yet.
Oh, you feel like you're in your patient season right now?
I am. And even though I'm in my patient season, I'm still working. Right. I'm not like, I'm not sitting like, okay, it's going to fall in my lap. I've built a relationship with him on work. So I know as long as I'm working And as long as I'm focused on him, I'm moving in his direction. That means I'm moving in the direction I want to go. And to me, that's better than just sitting in. Yeah, he's gonna drop something on me.
Right. Man, I tell people that all the time. I used to go back and forth. I'm like, man, you can't just. You have to work.
Yeah.
You're not gonna just sit there. And sometimes, yeah, some people do get blessed in that manner, but 9 times out of 10, you gotta put that work in, and he's gonna just follow suit and honor what you're doing.
Yeah.
So going back to you saying like you were helping people in rehab, what do you feel like for you was your lowest point with the drug abuse?
What was my lowest point? But probably avoiding responsibility. That probably was the entire time I was under the influence. I did my kudos to my wife. Whenever I fall, she picked up the slack, and it weighed on her. It left scars on her to this day. But she was the one thing that helped me stay above water. Besides Jesus, of course, but she came in clutch when I needed it. But that was probably the lowest, is when I started attacking her, not physically. I never hit her, laid hands on her, but I don't know. It's this thing. When I was in rehab, a lot of meth heads talked about this, that they always would accuse their significant others or their wives or husbands of cheating or being unfaithful. It's a demon. It's like these thoughts get in your head when you're high, that they're doing something. And she'd be laying in the bed, and I'm just thinking that there's people in the house running around. It was scary. Because when I would come out of it and I would have those thoughts, I'm like, why did I think that that was going on? There was no signs of it, no indicators. My son told me, Elijah, his spiritual gift is he sees like the supernatural. Maybe it's because he's just a kid, but he said he would see demons following me when I would pace around the house. And he would tell my wife, he was like, Daddy has people following him. And so when she got up immediately and started praising God and raising, saying, get out of my house.
Right.
And he didn't tell me stuff like that whenever I was under, because he knew better, but whenever I would wake up or come out of my little binges, he would, Dad, you had things following you. Don't know what they were, and it would freak me out.
I was just going to say, that man, what did that mean to you?
To me, that told me I'm close to death or something, because you think you're invincible when you're not, and God can pull your card at any time. I think that's one of my main prayers, is I thank him for pulling me out before it was too late, because I don't know why people think God is not intelligent. I don't think why they don't think God is smart. You cannot fake deliverance. You cannot fake grace. You cannot pretend to love him and live a certain way. You have to stand on what you believe. You have to speak what you believe. Your actions have to match. So,
man, tell me this, because you touched on it just a second ago, the importance of a significant other, because we live in a time where that's not popular.
No, it's not.
You know what I'm saying? and sometimes they do have good reasons, but you just explained in a way one of the best reasons to have a significant other, because if you were alone,
I'd be dead. There's no doubt about it. We talk about it all the time. I'd be dead if I did not have her, because she is another reason why I got closer to Christ, because she's very devout. She reads her Bible all day. She prays for like an hour. I don't know how she does it.
Man.
I love God.
Man, I understand.
I love God by praying for an hour and out loud. Like she walks through the house, every person's room. She's in there.
That's strong.
She's very strong. And I think that's another reason why things happened the way they did. If I had been living by myself, if I was by myself, I would be dead, yes. Or worse. There's worse things than death.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me where the love of music come from, man.
Shoot, man. I used to... Everyone loves music. That's one thing. My wife, my granny, the one that passed in 2019, were the ones who motivated me to do music because I just wanted to be a motivational speaker. I just wanted to motivate people. And I started Iron Sharpens Iron because of that, just lifting people up because I know people need it. Even when I was in my addiction, I still was lifting people up. Just, it was from a bottom part. Like, don't be down here with me.
Right.
Because you can do better. But it doesn't bode well to tell somebody to do something and you're doing the opposite. So when they told me to do music, I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I had done it before with this group called Red Prodigy. His name is Jeremy Brown. He Solar Slim. I was doing music with him and his crew for a while, and then I was going to the clubs and I realized, I don't really like doing this type of music, so I stepped away from it. Plus, I didn't think it was for me. I didn't have the talent. Well, I thought you had to have talent to do it, but I took my phone. I downloaded an app called BandLab and started rapping on that. Of course, I sounded terrible. And it was bad, and we still laugh about it to this day. I got all my old songs just to keep me humble. Like, I was like, dang, I can't believe I thought that was cool. But the hard work that I put into it, building from the ground up, has made me look at it, make me love music. And the fact that I can now glorify Jesus with it made me fall in love with it even more. Because it was just a hobby at first. And now it's like, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to do this.
So, growing up, was music your passion, or just this was like recent?
Well, this was recent. Because writing was my passion.
Okay.
So I liked writing books, stories. Some of them were not very appropriate, but I would write all types of books. And I always wanted to write a novel, but I never really pursued that. It kind of fell by the wayside whenever I got to high school, and I would just focus on chasing girls, I should say. But no, it wasn't something I was good at. And honestly, I feel like I'm still on the lower end of that pole because I don't compare myself to other artists, but when I hear their music, I'm like, oh, that's got some.
Right.
I respect these guys. They wordplay and stuff. I just work hard. I make music that sounds good to me that I hope that the Lord likes.
So you just touched on it as well. You said coming up through high school, you had a passion for, say, writing and doing books. How easy is it, because you got young people watching this, right? You're going to be watching this. How easy is it for you to get distracted and next thing you know, something that could have made you a career by the time you finish high school, something you could step in, you no longer even considered, and you go through years and years and years of trying to find yourself. How do you prevent that, and how do you mentally get through that situation?
This is something I'm dealing with my two older ones because I have a daughter, she's 16, and my son's 18. I force them to pick something. Like, you need to find something and then focus on it. If it's not what you want, at least it may segue to something you may enjoy. My daughter's an artist. She likes to draw and she likes to do nails and she's focused on that. But yes, distractions everywhere. And they get distracted very easy and I get distracted very easily. You just have to work on it. The only way to get good at something is working at it. You get distracted, force your attention back to what you're doing. That's something I'm teaching my son right now, and he's getting better. He started his own business. He does lawns, and he doesn't get distracted from that. When a client calls him, he
own it.
And when he says that, or when things get too much from him, he comes and talks to me. So I think that's another thing that might help is talking to somebody who may mentor you or who can give you some wisdom, sound wisdom. Will for sure focus back on your goals.
So for you, what do you feel like is your overall purpose and mission? You think it's music? Do you think, even in music, what do you think your overall purpose is to do?
I stand on this. My purpose is to love and worship the Lord and serve and respect others. Those are my two purposes. One's lateral, one's horizontal, one's vertical. And that's what I'm staying at. That's my purpose. If it's music I have to use to pull people to the Lord and to teach them to respect and love others and to serve others, that's how I'm going to do it.
So let me ask you: would you be with? Because I listen to the way you talk, and I understand. I listen to how passionate you are about a lot of things that you say. Would you even be willing to like talk to kids or go to schools and have conversations?
I'm down for that. I mean, I believe my story is relatable, and especially this day and age. There's all types of forms of addiction. Drugs just so happen to have been mine. But you have addiction to electronics, you have addiction to food, you have addiction to a person, and you have addiction to yourself. And it's not a healthy one. I mean, if you're making your emotions, giving your emotions divine authority, you have a problem.
Mm.
That is a major problem. If things breaking your heart and are causing your energy to be disrupted, so to speak, yes, that's something you need to work on.
Okay, so last question. I always ask everybody this. If you could go back, have one conversation with 16-year-old Andre, what would you tell him? What would be your advice to yourself?
Take God more seriously. That's what I would say. Stop playing with God. Take him more seriously because you just don't know. I made it this far, but if I was to go back and do that, hey, take him more seriously because you don't know.
Man, I appreciate you. Let the people know where they can find you, man, and what you got coming. We want to support that as a Christian base or just as people in general, man. We have to start supporting each other more. It's too much negativity and other stuff that they can get into, and I kind of always want to be the reverse of that. So not me just getting to the first 100 testimonies, but I want to also saturate the market with something godly and something more positive.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about.
Man. And I think your music and the things that you're doing and just the way you react to it can also do the exact same thing. So where can the people find you and what you got coming up?
I'm working on a new album right now called Unfinished. It's all my old songs that I did very bad on. I'm redoing them because I hadn't put them out. I'm redoing them, so this one's just going to be like unfinished. It's no theme to it. Just things that I want to finish and get out the way so I can start, because I'm about to come out with some crazy wordplay type stuff. Some all kind of good shows. I like fireworks too, if people haven't noticed. They can find me I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora. I just found that out a couple weeks ago. Amazon Music. I'm on YouTube. You can find me at Andre Ford or at The Promise INC. Instagram, The Promise INC. On Facebook, it's Andre Ford or Iron Sharpens Iron. That's my record label.
Man, I want to say I appreciate you coming out, man, doing this. A lot of people need to hear these type of stories. People come from the bottom to the top. Sometimes it's that mid-session that they need to get past. And hearing what you just got through saying, especially dealing with what you're dealing with, like you said a while ago, is very relatable for a lot of our youth and for a lot of adults. Some people are going through that as we speak.
Yes.
And I appreciate you just coming and speaking on it openly, man. I just want to encourage you to
continue
that journey, man.
Oh, yes. I'm going all the way. Trust me. I ain't never stepping down. He told me where my path is. I'm following it. I'm focused on him.
All right, man. I'll see y'all next time for the Perkins Project.
Peace.